20 million cosmetic procedures last year. South Korea, it reportedly has the highest rate of plastic surgery per capita.
Today, we dive into the fascinating world of South Korea, delving into the mind-boggling technology, extravagant traditions, and everything in between that makes this nation unlike any other. It's a place where K-pop takes the crown, street food transforms into art, and beauty standards defy the ordinary. Get ready for a whirlwind tour of unique experiences, because in South Korea, the extraordinary is just another day in life. So join us as we explore 20 things that only happen in South Korea. Number 20. Valentine's Day in South Korea. Valentine's Day, February 14th, is celebrated worldwide, including in the United States. But in South Korea, they put their own twist on it, making it a multi-day affair filled with intriguing customs. Valentine's Day isn't just a single-day event in South Korea. It stretches over several days. It's not your typical roses and chocolates gig. It has some unique rules and quirks. On Valentine's Day itself, women in South Korea give chocolates to the men in their lives as a gesture of affection. But it's not that simple. The gift is not just about the thought. It's also a bit of a financial calculation. This is so because the next month, on March 14th, known as White Day, it's the men's turn to reciprocate. Now, in their case, they have to follow something called the Rule of 3. This means they need to give a gift worth 3 times the value of what they received in February. This might seem like a grand romantic gesture, but it's also a clever move by gift companies to extend the Valentine's Day festivities and sell some rather expensive-sounding presents. The response, they say, reflects a man's feelings about the relationship. If he doesn't give a gift, it suggests he's above her. If it's of equal value, well, that's a breakup sign. But if he goes all out with a gift worth 3 times the previous one, then it's a green light for the relationship to continue. It seems like a lot of fuss, but relationships can be like that. Sometimes it's hard to decipher the mixed messages, especially when they come in the form of chocolates and gifts. Speaking of lovey-dovey dates, it's not just Valentine's Day and White Day that South Korea has in its romance calendar. They have a bunch of them like June 14th, which is Kiss Day, and December 14th, which is Hug Day. So, if you're in South Korea, there are plenty of opportunities to spread some affection throughout the year. Gift giving is a whole world of its own, and there's an art to it, and sometimes it can feel like navigating a maze of hidden messages. The type and quality of chocolates speak volumes too. From "I love you with all my heart" to "I think you're a real fool," it's a complicated language of sweets. Even if you don't receive a gift on these romantic days, there's still a day for that. It's called Black Day. All the single folks gather at a restaurant to eat black noodles and maybe shed a tear or two about loneliness. It might sound a tad melancholic, but at least they're embracing it together. Number 19. No trash can in South Korea. Korean culture is rich with traditions and values, and one aspect that reflects this is their commitment to maintaining a clean environment. Interestingly, this dedication to cleanliness can be seen in the scarcity of public trash cans, especially in Seoul. The government made this move to tackle the issue of people using public bins to dispose of household garbage instead of paying for the municipal collection service. To deter this behavior, thousands of trash cans were removed from public spaces. This approach has made finding a spot to toss your trash a bit of a perpetual challenge. So what do people do with their garbage in a city where bins are scarce? Well, it turns out that the culture of cleanliness and respect means folks often hang on to their trash until they can find a suitable place to dispose of it. While you won't find trash cans on every street corner, there are some strategic spots. Subway stations usually have large bins to handle the load, and you can find smaller containers in the bathrooms. If you're at a convenience store and dine in, you'll likely have access to a trash can as a paying customer. Otherwise, you might find yourself carrying your garbage around until you stumble upon a suitable disposal spot. It's all part of navigating life in Seoul. Number 18. Importance of blood type in Korea. Our blood type being related to our personality is not a question that crosses most of our minds, but in South Korea, it's oddly fixated upon. No, it's not because they're secretly plotting to drain your blood for the black market or harvest your organs. Instead, they're curious about your blood type because they believe it reveals something about your personality. It might sound comical, but it is just as quirky as asking someone's star sign. So, South Koreans believe that if you have blood type A, you would be earnest and sensitive, maybe even a bit of a perfectionist. Your ideal match in this case would be blood type O. For those rocking blood type B, they're considered creative and optimistic, but watch out for a potential selfish and irresponsible streak. According to this belief, they're best suited to someone else with blood type B. People with O blood type is seen as outgoing and natural leaders, but there's a catch. They can also come across as arrogant. As mentioned, blood type A is their best compatibility match. Finally, we have the mysterious AB blood type. Apparently, these individuals are rational and talented, though they might have a dash of being critical and eccentric. They're most compatible with other AB types, according to the South Korean system. It's amusing how your blood type is a conversation starter in South Korea, while in some shady bar in Oklahoma, it would have been a strange topic that might send shivers down your spine. Number 17. Eating live octopus. In South Korea, there's a rather unusual culinary adventure that some locals absolutely love. And believe it or not, even some adventurous visitors are strangely eager to give it a try. This gastronomic thrill is the act of eating a live octopus. Now, no one is here to judge anyone's tastes, but before you dive into this unique dining experience, there are a few things you should know. First, it might seem a tad impolite. You're not even giving the poor octopus the dignity of being, well, not alive, and you have to chew it properly. Those sneaky suction cups can cause some serious throat trouble if they get stuck. There is a slightly less dangerous way to enjoy this dish, though. Some chefs prepare the octopus by removing the mucus from its tentacles and cutting them into smaller, less hazardous pieces. So, that's a bit easier on the choking front. But let's be real, it's still a live octopus on your plate. Number 16. Soju Explained. Soju is South Korea's national drink. It's a spirit that has quite a history. Traditionally, it was crafted from rice, but nowadays you'll find it made from other grains like barley, tapioca, and even sweet potatoes. During the Korean War in the 1950s, when food reserves were precious, the Korean government temporarily banned using rice to make soju. There's a bit of etiquette involved in enjoying soju. When you're at the table, it's customary for one person to play the role of the drink pourer. And when your glass is filled, you should accept it with both hands as a sign of respect. Another pro tip is to never let your glass go completely empty. Always leave a bit in there to signal that you're not looking for a refill. Otherwise, you might find yourself constantly topped up. It's unacceptable to pour your own soju, too. Let someone else do the honors. And when you're raising your glass for a toast, avoid making direct eye contact. The wine is also considered a magical social lubricant. Even the quietest folks tend to loosen up after a couple of glasses. So, if someone you've just met invites you for a drink in South Korea, they're extending an olive branch of friendship. It's their way of breaking the ice, getting to know you better, and building connections faster. However, many South Koreans drink too much, because soju is everywhere and easily accessible, as long as you have proper identification. A bottle of soju costs less than a bottle of water in most Western countries too. Plus, Koreans have some handy hangover remedies up their sleeves, like a special morning after soup or those miracle grapefruit ice creams. It's all part of the unique soju drinking culture in South Korea. Number 15. Korea's love for sweet potatoes. People in South Korea have a real fondness for sweet potatoes. You can find these veggies at street vendors, roasted in their skin and served piping hot, often wrapped in a newspaper to keep you warm during the chilly winters. They're as ubiquitous as hot dog carts in American cities. However, the love story doesn't stop there. Sweet potatoes have infiltrated pretty much every corner of Korean cuisine. From candy to yogurt drinks, they've even found their way into some seriously unexpected snacks. Picture sweet potato lattes, cakes, pizzas, and noodles. They're everywhere, mixed into all sorts of pre-packaged and prepared foods. What's more, sweet potatoes are having a moment as a healthy food. People are genuinely excited about the dietary benefits they bring to the table. Beyond sweet potatoes, South Koreans have a soft spot for honey butter chips too. Fries smothered in rich, creamy butter and drizzled with sweet, delectable honey is one of their favorite dishes. Now, snagging a bag of these chips in a store might be a bit tricky because they fly off the shelves faster than you can imagine. But if you're dead set on trying them, you can even find them on eBay, where a single bag can set you back up to $100. That's how much people adore these chips. Number 14. 2 different ages. When a baby comes into the world in South Korea, there's a fascinating twist to how age is counted. It might sound a bit unusual at first, but this is a cultural quirk, and there's some intriguing reasoning behind it. South Koreans consider a newborn to be a year old right from the start. They do this because, if you think about it, before they're even born, they spend a solid 9 months in their mother's womb. That's almost a full year of development before taking their first breath. It's a unique way of acknowledging this early stage of life. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Everyone's age increases, regardless of their actual birthday, when the new year rolls around. So, if a baby is born in December, they're automatically considered to be 2 years old as soon as January 1st hits. That's like a time-traveling twist. So if you want to calculate your Korean age, you can follow a relatively simple formula by subtracting your birth year from the current year and adding 1 to the result. It's a quick way to fit in with the local age system. However, if all these calculations make your head spin, don't worry. When you're in South Korea and someone asks your age, you can simply share your birth year. It's a neat cultural quirk that adds an extra layer of uniqueness to the Korean experience. Next time you're there, feel free to embrace it and start counting your age from day 1. Number 13. Jimjillbangs in Korea. The saunas in South Korea aren't your typical Swedish saunas. They have their own name, Jimjillbangs. These places are like hot, sweaty sanctuaries that are deeply rooted in Korean culture. So what can you expect when you step into a Korean sauna? Well, think of them as traditional Korean bathhouses. You get hot and cold pools, saunas, massages, and all that good stuff. But it's more than just a place to unwind. It's a social hub, too. Families, couples, and friends all come here for relaxation and reflection. In Korean culture, these saunas are believed to work wonders for your health, from boosting circulation to helping with weight control. However, men have their side, and women have theirs inside the Jimjillbangs. And you have to strip down to your birthday suit before hopping into the pools. And there's a good reason for this. Hygiene is a big deal in Korea, so everyone starts with a thorough wash. They even have attendants who'll give you a good scrub to make sure you're squeaky clean. After all that soaking and cleansing, you'll find sleeping areas where you can catch a nap. So once you're all freshened up, you can kick back and relax. It's quite the experience. Number 12. Korean school uniform. School uniforms in Korea have a rich history that dates back well before the 1900s. Originally, they were based on the hanbok, which was the standard attire of the time. But as the 20th century rolled around, these uniforms started to adopt a more Western style. For boys, they even took on the appearance of worker outfits. Fast forward to today, and Korean school uniforms have become quite similar to Western counterparts. They wear outfits like blazers, ties, and all the classic school attire you'd expect. But here's where it gets even more interesting. South Korean teenagers practically live in their school uniforms. Sure, they switch it up a bit depending on the season, but you'll see them proudly flaunting their school colors most of the time. You may have seen this in many of their movies and thought it only happened in movies. Well, it doesn't. South Korean students are very proud of their uniforms. It's not just a uniform to them, it's a fashion statement. K-pop stars and TV actors heavily influence this trend, making it look cool. So, next time you see a Korean teen rocking their school uniform, remember, it's not just a dress code, it's a style choice. Number 11. Color-coded taxis. When it comes to picking a ride in South Korea, you may have to consider the color of the car. The white and gray taxis do a decent job, and their drivers are qualified but might lack some real-world experience. If you're aiming for a more luxurious trip with a seasoned driver, then your best bet is to opt for a black taxi. These black taxis often come with a touch of class. Their drivers tend to have years of experience under their belts, making them pros at navigating the city. So if you want a smoother, more upscale ride, the black taxi is the way to go. Number 10. Sparkling public toilets. Let's talk about public toilets in South Korea. They're everywhere, and it seems like they take real pride in having ultra-modern, gleaming toilets. Some of them are like something out of a sci-fi movie. You have the super fancy ones with all the high-tech gadgets, a bit like the ones that Japan is famous for. They're not just receptacles for your bodily needs. They're practically a luxury car wash for your backside. Even the basic models offer some delightful features like anal cleaning, daytime wash, deodorization, and the ever-so-essential seat warming. It makes you wonder how we've managed without these modern marvels for so long. These toilets can also be a bit of a mind-boggler with their array of functions. Before you dive into this high-tech toilet experience, make sure you've got some time on your hands. Otherwise, you'll miss out on exploring the wonders of the multiple flushing options. And yes, there are options for different types of deposits you might have made. There are even integrated bidet selections with their fancy-sounding oscillating pulsation and smooth back bar functions. Honestly, these South Korean toilets are so much fun that you might find yourself spending more time in there than you ever expected. Number 9. Schooling at night. Ever wondered if Koreans have school at night? Well, brace yourself, because Korean high school students have what can only be described as a marathon school day, clocking in at a whopping 16 hours. Now, if that doesn't make you wince, here's another eye-opener. The average amount of sleep for 10th to 12th graders in Korea is a meager 4.9 to 5.5 hours a night. It's a sleep-deprived situation. The official school day typically starts around 8 a.m. and ends at about 4:30 p.m., which, on its own, isn't outrageously long. However, all the extra stuff makes it even more intense. Students pile on extra study sessions, extracurricular activities, and musical instruments, among other commitments. Their days are micromanaged to squeeze every ounce of productivity out of every second. It's a highly competitive and stressful educational environment, with enormous expectations and pressure to perform. So if you're imagining these Korean students lounging around with downtime, think again. They're on a non-stop educational journey that leaves them with barely any time to catch their breath. Number 8. The New Year wardrobe. South Korea, like many other parts of Asia, joins in the festivities of the Lunar New Year. It's a time filled with traditions and customs that are unique to this country. But as time marches on, some of these age-old practices are giving way to more contemporary celebrations. One of the oldest traditions is the donning of a special outfit known as the hanbok. This elegant two-piece ensemble is typically crafted from cotton or silk and adorned with intricate embroidery. What's interesting is that both men and women wear hanboks during this time. Traditionally, families would gather in their new hanboks to celebrate the holiday in a truly traditional manner. However, this cherished way of marking the Lunar New Year is slowly losing its popularity. In an effort to keep the hanbok tradition alive, South Korean tailors are stepping up. This shift has significant implications for the clothing industry, and by extension, traditional customs. It's a reflection of how traditions can evolve and transform in a changing world. Number 7. Dog eating in South Korea. This topic was part of South Korea's history but has seen a significant decline in recent times: the consumption of dog meat. For centuries, it was a traditional aspect of Korean culture. However, things have changed. In a recent survey, the majority of respondents admitted that they've never actually tasted dog meat. It's no surprise, really, considering the controversy surrounding this practice in many Western countries and the influence of Western culture. The result is that dogs are now a rare sight on the menu in South Korea. In fact, more than 60% of the population supports the idea of banning dog meat altogether, and this idea has now become official. South Korea is now witnessing a shift away from this long-standing tradition, reflecting the evolving attitudes towards the treatment of animals. Number 6. A Novice Guide to Noribang. Noribang, those Korean-style karaoke rooms, are an absolute blast, and you'll find them all over the place. These spots are all about spontaneity. You can just walk in without booking ahead. The urge to belt out your favorite tunes often strikes when the music or maybe a sip of alcohol gets to you. And let's be real, it's often the latter since Koreans drink a lot anyway. Now the range of Noribang experiences is pretty wild. You can find some that are as shabby as they come, while others are downright elegant, complete with fancy decor and even complimentary ice cream. Prices can vary too, anywhere from $5 to $25, depending on the time of day you decide to go. Singing power ballads in the afternoon is cheaper, and cranking up the tunes at night, that's a bit pricier. As for the song selection, you'll discover a mix of Korean and English songs with a heavy dose of classics from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000. But remember, the key to Noribang's success is bringing your A-game enthusiasm and taking turns with that microphone. No one likes a mic hog. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. We already talked about how South Korean students like to style their school uniforms because it's cool, and we can see that in the picture in the first frame. The girl is looking pretty and posing for a shot. However, the situation in the second frame happened in 2015 when students from a school were asked to pull down their underwear for inspection. This was outrightly unacceptable, and even though many students were unwilling, they were still forced to. Boys were put in a separate room, and girls were in a different room too. You can see them in this picture. This is not a cultural habit in South Korea, which is why we are concerned about something like this happening. We don't have further information about why the school forced its students to do this, and what exactly they were looking for. We are curious if anybody knows what eventually happened to the school management, and if the students were compensated for this rash action. If you know more about the incident, let's hear from you in the comment section. Number 5. Korean barbecue. Korean barbecue is all about the delightful experience of grilling marinated meat right at your table. There's a grill built into your table, and it becomes your sizzling canvas. When we talk about marinated meat, we're talking about a world of flavors. There is soy sauce, sesame oil, and various other seasonings. The meat hits the grill, and the magic begins. The grill becomes a focal point, and you and your companions take on the role of chefs, flipping and sizzling your way to deliciousness. Of course, a Korean barbecue feast isn't complete without the side dishes, kimchi, rice, veggies, the usual suspects. But there's more to it. Ever heard of Sam? That's the art of wrapping your grilled meat and veggies in leaves, like lettuce, perilla, or even sesame leaves. And the sauce, samjang, is a blend of soybean paste and red pepper paste that adds that perfect kick. Soju, a traditional Korean wine, often makes an appearance as well. It's all part of the Korean barbecue experience, a perfect feast for the senses, from grill to table. Number 4. Practical gifts. When moving into a new house in South Korea, you may get all excited about hosting a housewarming party. But there's something different about this. You don't need to worry about stocking up on detergents, cleaners, or even toilet paper, because your guests have got you covered. It's a common tradition in South Korea for guests to bring household items as gifts when someone moves into a new home, and they don't skimp on it. They bring a whole lot of practical goodies. So before your housewarming bash, make sure you've got some extra cabinet space because you're about to receive a treasure trove of household necessities. It's a bit like a community effort to ensure your new space is comfy and fully stocked from the get-go. Now, that is a thoughtful custom. Number 3. Couples matching outfits. Opinions are pretty split when it comes to couples wearing matching outfits. Some people find it adorable while others cringe at the sight. Chances are you might already have a pretty clear stance on this. However, in South Korea, this is not just a quirky exception. It's a strangely common practice among lovey-dovey couples. It harks back to an old tradition where newlyweds used to flaunt specific attire that screamed that they were newly married and head over heels for each other. Back in the day, it was a suit for the man and a hanbok for the lady. But as the years rolled by, matching outfits took over, and now, even couples who aren't in the throes of newfound love join in. It's like a way of saying they are together and are not afraid to show it. Some might say they're rubbing it in a bit, but that's the South Korean way of doing things. In a culture where appearances carry a lot of weight, especially among the younger crowd, this matching outfit trend is just an extension of that. Plus, let's be real, it's also a clever way to sell more fashionable stuff to the younger generation. So whether you find it cute or cringe-worthy, there's no denying it's a thing in South Korea. Number 2. Choreography and flash mobs. Remember the time when everyone was glued to their screens, watching Filipino prisoners bust out intricate choreographed dances? Back then, it was all about exercise and rehabilitation, not just racking up clicks on the internet. You're minding your own business, waiting for a train, and bam! A flash mob materializes right in front of you, and you can barely move. Now, most of the world has moved on from the mass choreography craze, but South Korea seems to have a soft spot for it. Koreans have a real penchant for flash mobs, and you might just witness them breaking into spontaneous dance moves. Sometimes, it's not just ordinary folks. Even K-pop stars can't resist joining in. And let's not forget the marriage proposals that turn into full-blown spectacles, like in the middle of a department store. Suddenly, everyone's in on a choreographed dance routine, and it feels like you're in a Hollywood musical or something equally outlandish. That's exactly how South Koreans roll. Number 1. Plastic surgery. Fandom. Koreans are really into transforming their lifestyles, and plastic surgery is not just a trend there. It's practically woven into the fabric of major cities. Everywhere you turn, there are ads encouraging people to consider going under the knife for a fresh look. Now, one of the coveted looks in South Korea is the heart-shaped face. Achieving this often involves some pretty intricate surgeries. It involves processes like the jawbones being broken into 3 parts, removing the middle chunk, and then skillfully fusing the remaining bits to create that elegant pointed chin. After such an operation, solid foods are off the menu for a while. But as they say, beauty is pain, and many are ready to pay that price. According to a 2012 survey, South Koreans visit plastic surgeons more frequently than any other country. It's almost routine for them. Around 20% of women aged 20 to 50 have undergone at least one surgery to enhance what they call imperfections. Wealthy families also often gift their teenagers double eyelid surgery for their sweet 16th birthday. It's a popular procedure that makes the eyes look bigger and friendlier. South Korea is indeed a world on its own when it comes to glorifying plastic surgery. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, you should click on the link appearing on your screen right now to watch another of our interesting videos. You'll surely enjoy it too. See you there.